Let's just take a second here before we start. Close your eyes for me, just for a moment. I want you to imagine a pitch black, entirely silent void. Endless, fathomless space stretching out infinitely in every possible direction. It's so quiet it almost rings in your ears. Now, right in the middle of that absolute freezing nothingness, visualize a single solitary grain of dust. It's caught in this one piercing, incredibly sharp beam of light. Just floating there, completely alone, drifting. Really hold on to that specific image in your mind. Because, the scriptures reveal that this is quite often exactly how we view ourselves in the massive, overwhelming expanse of our modern existence. We feel like we're just drifting, totally insignificant, and frankly, utterly exhausted. Welcome to this explainer. Today we are going on a really profound, epic journey. We're tracking the path from that tiny, seemingly meaningless grain of dust to something so unimaginably magnificent it will literally change how you see yourself. This is an exploration of awakening. We're looking at the shift from mere agonizing survival to a vibrant, abundant life. We're going to meticulously unpack the breathtaking process of how a human soul is awakened, completely dismantled, and then rebuilt right from the ashes.
So let me ask you something, and I mean really ask you. If every single label you wore just vanished right now, in this exact second, who would you actually be? We live in a society that so meticulously, so aggressively defines us by our labels. But what if they were all entirely stripped away in a single heartbeat? Let's picture the visceral, heavy reality of our daily exhaustion. You know the feeling. It's 2 a.m. The house is completely dead silent. The world is asleep, yet your heart is racing. It's pounding against your ribs with this frantic, invisible, suffocating anxiety about tomorrow. The scriptures say that we are walking around burdened by a massive, unbelievably heavy mask. And I know you know the one I'm talking about. It's the mask you meticulously, carefully construct in the bathroom mirror every single morning before you even think about stepping out the front door. It's the one you securely, tightly fastened onto your face right before you squeeze your way onto a crowded, echoing, fluorescent-lit subway train. It's a mask literally forged out of your job title, your salary bracket, your social status, and your carefully curated perception of success. And why do we wear it? We wear it because the terrifying, knee-shaking alternative is being seen exactly as we truly are under the neon lights, flawed, bone-tired, and so deeply vulnerable.
Act 1. The Invisible Prison. Okay, let's look at this invisible prison we've built. The scriptures reveal that our society essentially operates on a cold, calculating, unfeeling social algorithm. It's like you are pushed onto a high-speed treadmill the absolute moment you are born, forced into this never-ending, lung-burning marathon where literally everyone around you is just another competitor to beat. You punch the clock, you desperately try to meet the endless metrics. You sit there and actually calculate your human worth by looking at the digital numbers in your bank account or the square footage of your house. It is a completely mechanical, programmed existence that just slowly, methodically drains the vibrant color right out of your days. But let's contrast this with what we'll call the divine reality. The scriptures say we were absolutely not designed to merely survive this algorithm. That's not why we're here. We were explicitly designed for profound, passionate, overflowing vitality. We were crafted by hand to possess an inner dignity and a cosmic significance that makes the human soul truly, warmly, deeply alive. The real tragedy here is that in our desperate, sweating pursuit of worldly applause, we willingly wager our own inner peace. And in doing so, we lose the absolute most authentic, beautiful version of ourselves.
And this realization brings us to a rather chilling concept. Let's call it transparent dust. Have you ever felt that? It's that terrifying ice-cold sensation that just creeps right up your spine when you're alone. It's the paralyzing fear that if you lose your wealth, if you somehow lose that shiny, perfect status you've built, you become entirely expendable to the world. You literally become invisible. You just become dust on the wind. The scriptures record that this specific, haunting fear is actually the longest tenured resident in the human heart. It is a silent, completely invisible iron shackle. We are so terrified of showing our authentic, imperfect, bruised selves to the light of day. We are absolutely paralyzed by the thought that if we drop the heavy mask, if we let our shoulders slump and reveal our weaknesses, the world will not offer us a warm, understanding embrace. No, we're convinced it will only offer cold, cutting, brutal mockery in return. So we stay trapped. We stay locked in this suffocating prison of what-ifs. What if I fail and everyone sees? What if they look down on me? This fear, it literally paralyzes our legs before we can even take the very first step toward freedom.
But here is where we see a magnificent, earth-shattering reversal. The scriptures show us that the divine gaze does not work like some corporate recruiter sitting across a sterile desk. It does not scan your carefully fabricated resume. It doesn't check your credit score. It absolutely does not care about the luxury brand of the car you drove to get here. No, the scriptures reveal that the divine eye pierces straight through all of those thick, heavy, suffocating layers of our societal masks. It cuts right through the noise. It looks entirely past the cold algorithm, and it sees the lonely, shivering, beautiful soul huddled underneath. In that sacred, infinite, completely loving perspective, the labels that cause us so much 2 a.m. heart-pounding anxiety, they are so astronomically insignificant that they do not even register as a single speck of dust. They are nothing. They melt away entirely under that warm gaze.
Act 2, the divine carving. I want you to visualize this next part in excruciating frame-by-frame slow motion. Picture a single, hard, completely sealed grain of wheat. Imagine it being dropped down into the cold, damp, incredibly heavy soil. The dirt covers it. It is buried in absolute, suffocating, pitch-black darkness. The weight of the earth is pressing in from all sides. For a long, long time, absolutely nothing happens. It feels exactly like a tomb. It feels like the end. Then, slowly, the agony begins. That hard, protective outer shell, which, if we're honest, is our vanity, our pride, our incredibly fragile, carefully guarded ego. It begins to violently crack. It splinters under the immense, crushing pressure of the dark earth. It is a terrifying tearing, a visceral, breaking sensation. It feels like destruction, but the scriptures say this is not destruction at all. This is the divine carving. The precise blade of destiny is carefully, deliberately chipping away the superficial, dead layers, because it's only when that shell is completely shattered, only when the pain of breaking reaches its absolute peak, that an explosive, unprecedented surge of brilliant green life erupts from the brokenness. It bursts violently upward, pushing through the dark soil to yield a hundredfold harvest. Listen to me. Your current storm, that massive failure you're sitting in right now, that is the dark soil. It is a secret, sacred training ground.
The scriptures record the micro details of a man named Peter going through exactly this. I want you to feel the biting, freezing cold of that specific night. Hear the sharp, hostile, spitting crackle of the charcoal fire burning in the courtyard. Peter has just committed the ultimate, unthinkable betrayal. He has literally turned his back on his master to save his own skin. The weight of his sudden failure is so instantly crushing, he sinks straight to his knees in the dirt. He buries his face in his rough, calloused fisherman hands, and he weeps. He weeps so bitterly, with such profound anguish, that his chest violently heaves with every breath. In that moment, he thinks his story is entirely permanently over. He thinks he is nothing but ashes. But watch how the scriptures reveal the divine response to this absolute failure. Fast forward a few days, it's dawn. The air is cool and misty on the shores of a quiet, rippling sea. There is no harsh interrogation. There are no angry, finger-pointing demands for a groveling apology. Instead, there is just the comforting, familiar smoky aroma of fresh fish roasting over glowing red coals. A warm, nourishing breakfast prepared by the very one he betrayed. His absolute, crushing, most shameful failure was met not with a lecture, but with a simple invitation to eat. It is the ultimate signal that falling face first into the mud is never the end of the road. It is actually the exact, precise starting line of an entirely new, unimaginable glory.
Now, shift your mind to this incredibly heavy, deeply cinematic scene. A dusty, narrow street baking under the blazing midday sun. A woman is violently thrown down into the dry dirt. She is entirely surrounded by a thick, suffocating wall of angry, intensely self-righteous faces.
Look closely at their hands. Their knuckles are completely white, gripped so tightly around sharp, heavy, jagged stones. They are ready to strike. They are ready to brutally execute her right there in the street for her hidden shame. The air is incredibly thick. It's just suffocating with the electricity of impending violence. She squeezes her eyes tightly shut, flinching, just waiting for the brutal, agonizing impact to start. But then a figure steps in. He bends down, slowly, placing his own body between her trembling frame and the furious mob. He doesn't shout. He doesn't argue. He just begins to write, silently, deliberately, in the loose sand with his finger. Slowly, the entire atmosphere shifts. The screaming dies down, and the scriptures reveal the absolute most incredible sound that follows. It's a dull, heavy, wet thud. Then another, and another. The stones of moral condemnation are dropping from slowly loosened grips, hitting the soft mud of the street. The crowd turns, their heads hung, and they just walk away in silence. The figure stands up, takes a gentle, incredibly warm robe of grace, and he wraps it securely around her trembling, dust-covered shoulders. He covers her profound public shame with absolute, unconditional acceptance.
The scriptures say that this exact mind-blowing grace is precisely what we are called to offer others. And just as importantly, what we are called to offer ourselves. Think about it this way. Carrying hatred is literally like traveling with a bag of rotting trash strapped to your back. When we refuse to forgive, when we clench our fists so tightly around past betrayals that our own nails dig into our palms, we are essentially dragging a heavy, black, foul-smelling bag of garbage with us into every single room we enter. It poisons our own air, it ruins our own meals. The scriptures say forgiveness is actually not about smiling at the oppressor. It's not about validating their cruelty or saying what they did was okay. It is a bold, radical, necessary act of self-emancipation. It is the exact moment you decide, deeply in your bones, that you are just too tired to let the ghosts of the past consume your precious, completely unrepeatable present. You let your fingers open, you drop the stone, you reach up and unlock the heavy iron door of your own soul's dark prison, finally allowing yourself to step out into the sun and travel light, clean, and completely free.
Act 3. The Premeditated Miracle. Let's move to the culmination of this journey. Consider a man named Zacchaeus. Society absolutely despises him. They have permanently labeled him a traitor, a massive failure, a greedy, untouchable outcast. He is so utterly desperate just to see what's happening, yet he is so deeply afraid of the crowd's vicious mockery that he literally climbs up the rough, scratching bark of a sycamore tree. He scrambles up there just to hide himself in the dense green foliage. He just wants to watch the procession go by, totally unnoticed. He's up there holding his breath, trying his absolute hardest to be invisible, transparent dust. But the scriptures record something that stops your heart. The center of the universe, the divine presence itself, is walking down that exact dusty road, and he stops walking. Right under that specific, random tree. He stops, he slowly looks up, and his gaze pierces straight through the thick, green sycamore leaves. It pierces straight through the heavy societal labels of traitor and outcast, straight into the terrified, pounding heart of a marginalized man hiding in the branches. And he simply, warmly, calls out his exact name, Zacchaeus. In that one tiny microsecond, Zacchaeus' heart completely stops. To be completely, intimately known, to be so deeply flawed, yet fully, unconditionally pursued by love in front of everyone, that is the exact moment the invisible dust turns into a living, breathing miracle.
Because you see, the scriptures record that your life is absolutely not a series of random, chaotic, meaningless accidents. Not at all. Consider the jagged pieces of your own story. Maybe it's 30% tears you cried into your pillow when no one was looking. 30% wrong, painful roads you stumbled down in the pitch dark. 20% sharp, agonizing betrayals that left you breathless. When you are just holding one single, jagged, sharp piece of that puzzle in your hand, it looks ugly, it looks broken, it feels totally useless. But there is a master craftsman, and with infinitely patient, incredibly careful, calloused hands, he is taking every single one of those pieces, every secret tear, every wrong turn that left you totally lost, every single betrayal that completely shattered your trust, and he is meticulously, intentionally fitting them together. The divine grace is the gold that binds the broken pieces. Nothing is wasted, absolutely categorically nothing. Those dark, jagged, painful pieces, they are utterly essential. They are used to create the necessary shadows and the profound depths of a unique, shining, completely irreplaceable masterpiece. And that masterpiece is your authentic self.
The scriptures reveal this profound, literally earth-shattering truth, and I need you to hear this with absolute clarity. You are not an accident. You never were. You are a completely premeditated miracle. Your profound dignity, your immense, unmeasurable value to this cosmos, does not rely on your bank account balance. It doesn't rely on your corporate job title. It doesn't rely on how many strangers applaud you on the internet. It relies entirely and solely on the sacred, immutable, undeniable fact of your creation. You were so intentionally, carefully designed with a highly specific, vital purpose in the grand, sweeping blueprint of the universe. When that realization truly sinks into your bones, it is the ultimate freedom. It instantly frees you from the exhausting, soul-crushing, endless marathon of trying to imitate anyone else. You can, at long last, reach up, untie the strings, and take off that heavy, suffocating mask. You can breathe in the fresh, clean air of absolute acceptance. And you can finally step into the warm, abundant, vibrant life that you are always, from the very beginning, meant to live.
So as we close this explainer, I want you to consider this one piercing final thought. Look closely at the pieces of your own life that you honestly think are completely broken. The painful failures, the totally shattered expectations, the deep, unhealed wounds you hide from everyone. The scriptures say that the shattered, broken shell is exactly the place where the vibrant green shoot of unprecedented life erupts. It doesn't happen in the pristine, unbroken shell. It happens in the cracks. So I ask you, which specific piece of your seemingly broken shell, right now in this exact moment, is secretly the very starting line of your abundant, radiant life? Which crack is letting the light in? Just sit with that. Let the weight of that question settle into the room. And as you do, feel the steady, completely unbroken, deeply loving gaze of the divine resting gently upon you, right here in this very moment.